So everything has to go somewhere. So when you consume something, at some point it's going to die. And if it's not food, if it comes in a package or it's a toy, or it's going to need to go somewhere. And it doesn't just vanish. And for all those years until I'd been to this talk, I never thought about it. You just don't, hey? You just put the rubbish out and it just disappears, doesn't it? Welcome to episode 3 of the Curious Bee podcast. I am responding today to a boat out in front of me that has 6 bedrooms and is completely owned by a billionaire and who owns a toy company. So I don't need to go into the detail because I'm just using this as an analogy to tell my story and respond. I'm a manifesting generator, my human design, and using my gift and pure power and potential as that design, it is to respond. So here we go. And I'm just going to piece the story together in this podcast. So here we go. Toys. This person has a massive toy company, and curious bee me, I was like, I need to look her up and see what she's all about. And so there she is with all these toys behind her, and all I can see is all this packaging and all these throwaway plastic. All I see is just a whole lot of cheap rubbish, which, okay, that made a lot of money, but coming back to my morals and how I'm going to piece a story together, that didn't impress me. I'm not like, I can't wait to meet her. Oh my goodness, she made this amazing toy company. All I see is a whole lot of packaging the kid's going to receive, it's going to go in the bin, and eventually these plastic toys are not good for Gaia, Mother Earth, nature, our precious, delicate planet. So I'm not in awe. So there we go. Awake, aware me, I just see right through it. And I'm going to continue my story of the day. So I'm recording this on New Year's Day 2025. And on the beach today, I live in the Coromandel on a beautiful beach, very small community. And we had a sports day today, which was awesome. Like, I love the vibe here. Very yesteryear, like sack races and egg and spoon and tug of war and sandcastle. I mean, I love that. But oh my goodness, awake, aware me. The sacks can be reused. The tug of war is going to be pulled out next year. But all the prizes were like chocolate bars, and one boy was like, oh my goodness, I've got Smarties. And then, awake, aware me, I'm just like, oh, the colour and the colouring agents and and sometimes I just wish that I could not see as much as I see, because I see everything. And once you wake up and you take this journey, which I'm going to take you on in this podcast, of why I've ended up being so friggin' eyes wide open, sometimes I just wish I could turn it off, but I can't, because and then I saw another, this is slightly diverting from waste, but I saw another person like putting sun cream on, and I'm just like, oh, and I just cringe, and I'm like, don't you know? Like, don't you know? Why am I the only one person that I feel like I am that sees all this? That it's just this, oh my God, the ingredients. You look at the sun cream and go down the, here we go, rabbit hole of, right. So, backstory time. I've lost track of years now. Let's rewind. It was before 2020. Okay, let's just call it 2020. I had an awakening. That's where this whole eyes wide open thing started for me. So, was a graphic designer, sitting behind a computer, making all this packaging. And I never thought anything of it. Like, I was just on the grind, all this work coming in, never said no, just creating stuff without a real consciousness around its end of where it was going. And instead of saying no, turning away work, it was I was just in the matrix, in the world, in the working grind, pumping it out. So 2020 came around. Pretty sure that was in alignment with when my back went and I wasn't able to sit and do that volume of work for that amount of time. And my journey started going to a zero waste talk. And I was so excited. I was living north of Auckland at the time. And yay, these Hannah and Liam were their names. The rubbish trip were doing a talk. And I was like, woohoo! Because something had piqued my interest as I'd, taken the train tracks and met this junction. And I was in this carriage going down this new path. So I went to their tour. It was really, my son and I, so excited. Off we went, 7:00 to this little hall up in Matakana. And yay, it was awesome. And that's where our hour, because we really rode, my son and I rode this together, this new, this awareness. So yeah, it was great. So, we learned so much that night, and as I said, that we're on this train track and in this new direction of being eyes wide open. And that night we talked about, what happened to everything that we bought, like that, anything. So everything has to go somewhere. So when you consume something, at some point it's going to die. And if it's not food, if it comes in a package or it's a toy, or it's going to need to go somewhere. And it doesn't just vanish. And for all those years until I'd been to this talk, I never thought about it. You just don't, you just put the rubbish out and it just disappears, doesn't it? But you don't, I guess I can remember going to the landfill, you go to the tip with Dad and all the seagulls, back in the day when we didn't have these refuse stations. And yeah, I remember that quite vividly, but no emotional emotional reaction now that I do now I'm awake. So going to this talk, and yeah, we covered everything from when you put food scraps into your rubbish bin, that's going to release methane, and I'm not going to go into the climate change and all that stuff because I'm not a big believer. I'll be honest there that I think there's a lot. That's a whole different story, and I welcome you to explore that as I have, to see what the truth, if there is such a thing, is. But anyway, let's go back to waste. So we went to this talk, and it started my whole zero waste journey. So I came back and I was like, right, we're not going to buy anything in a package. and we're going to make as much as we physically can. So I started this whole making my own cleaners, making my own, paper wipes, but out of fabric, like really. And then that started my whole knitting, because I always knitted as a kid. So I started knitting dishcloths, and there was quite a big thing that came out at that time, of councils even helping you. It was a bit of an agenda around that. And then, my son kind of took that into school, and of course was like, his lunchbox was like, right, we've got to have, and the whole, oh my God, glad wrap. It was really interesting. So that's how my journey actually started, that one talk. And then I got a bit obsessed, as I do, being my personality. It's like, I'm all in. And I was like, okay, right. So we'd eliminated so much, and we're making all our own bread, making, as I said, sewing and going, made my own deodorant, and didn't work for my teenage son. And he was like, Mum, and anyway, he, his friend said he was stinky. I tried, but yeah, bit of a battle when you've got teenager and all their beautiful aromas. And then the next step was, right, so I'm going to get a veggie box. And then, yes, those that know me, I was like, no, I'm going to replace the veggie box, and I'm going to grow all my own food. And I became very, very, very anti-supermarkets, to the point where I was like, oh my goodness, if someone sees me at a supermarket, they can't. If I see my front yard property, then I'm almost embarrassed to be at a supermarket. It became really obsessive. So I then went from zero waste to permaculture, because they kind of go hand in glove, because it's permaculture is that whole full circle, that whatever comes in your house and everything needs to be in a beautiful closed circle, and composting and worm farming. And so it's amazing how. And I can also, actually, I had a dream this morning that was also why I've felt like a calling to make this podcast. And so it was New Year's Eve last night, and I was with my son in my beautiful beach house. And as I said, there's a real yesteryear vibe down here of, I'm not sure if there's going to be any little murmurs in the background of this podcast of people playing games, but there's this really cool vibe down here of people as I said, today was the whole sack races and stuff, but people down here just play games. It's so cool. Like, they're all playing games at night time. They're out on the beach playing cricket, throwing those cool whistling those toys that you throw and they look like little rockets and whistle through the air. Talking about toys, but hey, they last. I think they last quite well. So last night, so cool with my son. We one of the favorite games, talking about toys, but these that last a long time, they're not throwaway, was this pop-up pirate. So you put the pirate in this cannon, and we've got swords each, and you put the swords in the hole until the pirate pops up, and it was the first to 5, and my son won. So that's that came out because it was our favorite game. And second runner up to that, I love Jenga. Hey, at least it's made of wood, right? And I've got one piece that Ali chewed on. It's got a signature chewed out of corner of block. Monopoly, he always wins Monopoly. And what's another one? Oh, and I loved Old Maid. But anyway, these aren't throwaway toys. These are, Old Maid. They were like the cards that I had when I played with my parents. But now the Old Maid is distinctively the Old Maid card, because you can't see it, and you've got it in the deck, and you try not to choose the Old Maid. Anyway, so that's what happened last night. And then I woke up this morning with a dream that the pop-up pirate game had been smashed, and I was not really, really upset about it. What I guess that came through for me. That was a real special moment with my son last night, playing that together at New Year's Eve, and just how kids grow up. And so yeah, but it made me kind of piece this podcast together: the boat, the toys, the waste, the consumerism, and how like I'm on and the journey I've been on of just this awareness of what I see. So yeah, I got to think of a title for it. Awake, aware, waste. I'm not sure. Anyway, I hope you took something home from that. And that was my story of what my New Year's Day thing to respond to was to share with you. So there you go. That's what goes on inside my lens perspective, viewpoint, being me with my journey. So there you go. Over and out from Curious Bee.